So much so that our own Prime Minister, who I think is doing a really good job on these issues, couldn't even mention to the Australian press that he was there to also talk about the Millennium Development Goals. Malcolm Turnbull had called him the Prime Tourist, not the Prime Minister. And therefore, that trip, though it had been planned in January of this year, for this September, had to be veiled as a trip around financial meltdown. Now, it was in part that, but most world leaders, thankfully including Kevin Rudd, at least at the podium, talked about the MDGs. One world leader didn't. His name, George Bush. He mentioned terror 31 times. He didn't get to the MDGs. My own feeling was pretty disappointed. Here was the moment to really amplify what I think is an astonishing ethical platform, and we were blown off course. The poor always go to the back of the queue, don't they? They're hardly visible most of the time. In a financial meltdown, they became invisible, even at an assembly that was devoted to them. Jeffrey Sachs and others put it pretty well when they said, it's amazing when you define something as a crisis, the money you can find. The US at that time had announced $750 billion in a bailout, later called a rescue plan, because of the financial meltdown. I might be the brother of an ex-treasurer, but I have to tell you, I'd never heard of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac until this meltdown. I laughed when they told me that's where the trouble started. I thought someone had made this up. Here was this meltdown that meant we found huge amounts of dollars. I would have thought 26,000 kids dying each day is a crisis, wouldn't you? And that we would find the money which is in our reach and the effective plans which the MDGs give to deal with it. Again, pushed to the back of the queue. On Friday night, I was in Melbourne with Bob Geldof, and we were addressing a dinner on diversity and disability, and also, being who we are, weaving in some of the Make Poverty History stuff, and you'll see some of the T-shirts. Make Poverty History, I said at that dinner, is a 3-word movement that really summarises what the MDGs are trying to do. It's wonderful when you get simple storylines that just immediately communicate what a whole movement's about. The civil rights movement of Martin Luther King and others really arose out of a very simple 3-word idea. Black is beautiful. And the legacy? Obama in the White House. Isn't that fantastic? But the struggle and the pain knowing that every issue in America has as a subtext racism. This is extraordinary. Black is beautiful. We're not just trash. And at the bottom, they're now in the White House. The environmental movement that was energised by the idea the earth is our mother. You don't violate your mother. That which sustains you and gives you life, you don't rape. Here is a release of energy. Well, I suggested Make Poverty History really is the wind beneath the wings of the MDGs. It is a movement of people, many of you here tonight, who say, I get the profound global ethic of this. Its moral clarity, its powerful appeal to my deepest humanity. That it challenges what I call the lottery of life. That simply says where you're born determines whether you'll live. If you're born in Australia, you've won first prize in that lottery. If you're born in Mozambique, where I was 3 weeks ago, or Cambodia, where I was 4 weeks ago, you can't ever have hope for a guarantee of universal health and universal education, the things that are just given to us. Make Poverty History says this is a fundamentally important movement of people. People who get the clarity, the moral urgency of saying the real crisis is 500 million women who still die in childbirth, and it's preventable. 26,000 kids who still die of preventable disease, who don't have access to clean water or suffer from malaria. We can make poverty history. The MDGs are the framework. We will continue to say to Kevin Rudd, in fact, if I can be a little bit of a gossip, in New York, I talked to Kevin saying Malcolm Turnbull has come out and said 0.5 of GNI by 2015 is now bipartisan. John Howard wouldn't go there. Malcolm Turnbull, to his credit, said 0.5 is now bipartisan, and he added 0.7 is on the table. The Prime Minister said, well, I haven't actually seen that in writing. I said, no, it's been on Channel 9 and it's coming out, and I believe everything Channel 9 says. Well, I was part of the story, so... And there was a long silence when I told our Prime Minister that, and so he said, so I guess we've got to go to 0.7, do we? I said, yes, Kevin, you do. Make Poverty History says, let's just keep our promises. Even in a financial meltdown, let's remember who's invisible, who's suffering greatly. The government has a framework. It has increased aid from 0.3 to 0.5. It can do more. It is doing a lot. And you are making a difference. Thank you.